Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody today?
Doing all right. How yourself?
I'm doing very well, Mr. Kavanaugh.
All right, good to hear everybody's good. Today's going to be pretty short because we're just going to go over the weekly free response, and then tomorrow starts review. So, if you watch the video I posted last night in Google Classroom, um, while we were taking our quiz on Friday, College Board made an announcement, and that announcement was that Physics 2 specifically is this is the column of units that we're cutting, and this is what's being tested. So basically, they took 25% of each course at the end and just cut it off. So units 6 and 7 are optics and modern physics. So nothing that we've been doing this for the last month and a half will be on the AP exam. They wanted to give everybody a fair shot. I don't know how they figured that in Physics 2, nobody had gotten through optics yet as the beginning of March. I'm not quite sure. But so the units 1 and 2, that's fluids and thermodynamics, and 3, 4, and 5, that's E&M. So that's what all that's your test is going to be on. The other changes that College Board made is that they're saying it's going to be a 45-minute in-home testing using any device. It is going to be all FRQs. So there's not going to be any multiple choice. My guess is that it's going to be a little bit more like the Physics C exam, where you're going to have 3 15-minute free response questions, although I don't know that for certain yet. They're releasing all of that information next Friday, April 3rd. Also, everybody's going to have the option for 2 exam dates. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's going to keep the normal schedule and then a exam time after that, or if they're going to have exam times earlier. Because part of what they said is they want some students may want to take it earlier while the information is still fresh. Others may want to wait and take it when they can review a little bit more. So College Board's going to be posting and making available review for teachers and students. So I guess that just means review for me to use with you guys. They're going to have live interactive reviews starting Wednesday. I don't know what that means. So I'm going to look into it and see how useful it can be. It's going to be stuff from other teachers that also teach physics too. So I'm going to look into that and see if we can't just use the videos, or if we're going to, I'll suggest using the live version. But we'll continue to do our meetings as well. So do you guys have any questions about the AP exam at this point? Other than Kaylin's going to be FaceTiming apparently during the AP exam. All right, so I'll give you more information on the AP exam when I get it, and you'll probably get it at the same time I did. I actually found out from Webb. Webb's the one that sent me the link because I was actually in the middle of making sure you guys were getting everything submitted for your quiz and everything Friday. So speaking of which, I will hopefully be able to get your quizzes graded at some point today so I can get you the results back, and that'll be the last new thing that we will quiz on. So I talked about review in the video that I posted last night. So the plan is basically, since it's only FRQs for the AP exam, is that's all we're going to practice release FRQs and practice FRQs that are all posted in College Board. So we're going to do a similar process as you did with your quiz. The questions will be released during through College Board. You'll write them on paper and submit them through Google Classroom. So one of the comments I got from the thing that I asked you guys to fill out for feedback, and thank you, I had about a little bit more than half of you fill that out, so I appreciate that. Your feedback is always helpful. So one person said it'd be nice to be more clear as to where I want to type the answers. I thought I was pretty clear in the instructions. I thought I said to print the sheet out and write all of your answers on that sheet and then take pictures and post them. But if I wasn't clear enough, that's what I want you to do from now on, is to just do them on paper, take a picture and upload them to Google Classroom. So no answers should be typed at all anywhere in College Board. Any questions about that? The other thing is, I haven't looked at any of the quizzes yet, but I had some issues with some of my Physics 1's makeup tests last week. Taking pictures straight from the phone and uploading them is that if you orient your phone sideways, that's the way I get it, and it is very difficult to, it won't let me zoom in on specific areas, it cuts them off. So my suggestion is to use an app called Cam Scanner to take your pictures to upload. It just an added step, but it makes it 100% that I know that I can see it and read it. So, all right, any questions at all pertaining to AP exam or how we're going to start reviewing? So review tomorrow. I'm just going to go through the Google slides much quicker than I did the first time for review. Then you're going to be assigned the progress checks, FRQs, which there are 2 progress checks. That's going to be your homework to just do those. My suggestion would be to try to time yourself to do them based on the number of points. And I don't know if they give you the number of points, but usually it's 20 to 25 minutes that you get for a question. So I think there's usually a long and short one, so basically 45 minutes. And then we'll go over those tomorrow. Then you'll have another set, we'll go over those on Wednesday. Then we'll have another set of FRQs. So we're going to kind of do FRQ practice each and every day. So that way, because the AP exam's only going to be FRQs. So, all right. If there are no questions, then let's go ahead and look at this question, because E&M is going to be a big part of the test. So, and this has not just circuits, but it also has capacitors in. So it wants you, first of all, to complete the diagram. So here is the scoring rubric. Zoom in a little bit. All right, so completing the diagram, we want to measure the current. So we just have to make sure that the ammeter is somewhere. Really, it could be anywhere after point B and before point A is where the ammeter needs to be. And then the battery aligned in any kind of fashion that way. So first part was 3 points. And you got a point for indicating that the current should be measured with the switch. Let's see, that part A. 4 points for the first part. For a diagram with an ammeter and battery in series, 1 point for indicating that the current should be measured with the switch closed and open. And then for correctly indicating that with the switch closed, that R1 is equal to the potential divided by I1, because it creates a short circuit. And then the correctly indicating when the switch is open, that R2 is equal to the total resistance in the circuit, which is denoted by this, minus the value of the resistor, which would give you R2. Questions on part A? No questions? All right, so part B, we have 3 different parts. We want to compare currents through, I think this time we switched and we have a capacitor. The capacitor is set up with the switch, and it tells us that the students close the switch and simultaneously begin recording the current through point B. The initial current is 0.9 amps and a long time after, which means that the capacitor is fully charged, which means there's no current that is going this way. That the after a long time, the current's 0.3, so that means all the current's going through R1 and R2. So we want to compare the currents through resistor 1 and resistor 2, and the switch immediately before the switch is closed to the currents a long time after. So, excuse me. So for part B1 is for indicating that the current through resistor 1 immediately after the switch is closed is greater than the current a long time after the switch is closed, because the resistance is less because it's going to go the path of least resistance. So there is no current going through the resistor 2 in that case. Then 1 point for indicating that the current through resistor 2 is 0 immediately after the switch is closed, which we just said. And then the 3rd point for indicating that the current through the switch is non-zero immediately after the switch is closed, and 0 a long time after the switch is closed. So those are your 3 points. Questions on part B1? I'm going too fast. Just raise your hand, slow me down. All right, so B2, we want to calculate the values of R1 and R2. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a loop rule equation. So we know we've got a 9-volt power supply, and we know that the current through the ammeter is 0.9 amps. So immediately after it's closed, we have this current basically is kind of like going this way. There is no current going through R2, which is why you have more current at the beginning than at the end, because then the current starts to drop as more current goes through R2. So the overall current ends up dropping. So calculating those values for R1 and R2. So for correct value of current and correctly calculating R1, so using R1, it's just using Ohm's law or loop rule. You have the loop rule is the potential of the battery is equal to the potential drop of resistor 1, which tells us that it's 10 ohms. Then for calculating resistor 2, you need to use the current a long time after, because that's when the current is all going through resistor 2. So you write a loop rule equation. You have the potential of the battery is equal to the potential drop of R1 and the potential drop of R2, which is the current times each individual resistor. And we know everything but R2, so we solve for R2 to get 20. Questions on B2? All right, then B3 says determine the potential difference across the capacitor a long time after the switch is closed. So here we are going to write a loop rule equation. So we know that those are supposed to be plus signs that are equal signs. There we go. So the loop rule, we know that the battery minus the resistor minus the potential across the capacitor is going to equal 0. So the potential across the capacitor is going to be the battery minus resistor 1, which we know that resistor 1 after a long time is going to be I times R, which we have that R value. So we get 6 volts across the capacitor. Questions on part B3? All right, so on to part C. So we have a third group of students that's using the combination of circuits with the capacitor. They connect it to a 9-volt battery that they treat as ideal, but is actually not ideal. So if it's not ideal, and it has internal resistance, we want to know how the third group's value of R1 calculated from the data they collected compared to the second group's value. So we can see that the third group is we're going to end up measuring a smaller amount of current because there's more resistance. And because there's a smaller amount of current, they're going to get a higher value for R1 because R1 is going to equal the sum of R1 and the internal resistance of the battery. Right? Questions on part C? No questions? Are you guys still alive? Anybody still here? Am I
If you
talking
said that they'll find R1 plus R, but didn't say that the current is smaller, do you still get the first point, or does it not work like that? Like if I said they'll measure R1 plus R, but said nothing about current.
I'm gonna say that you wouldn't get that point because it specifically says that you have to say that the current that they're measuring is smaller. So I would say that you would not get that point. Other questions? All right, so I wasn't ignoring Chris asked a question. If you're looking at the chat box after, I didn't see it until after I started going over the FRQ. He said, how would one submit your answers for an FRQ online? So I'm going to guess it's going to be similar to the way that we did it for our quiz on Friday. I think one of the things that I read is one of the options is to do it on paper and take a picture of it and upload it. So there might be ways to do it on your phone by typing your answers. You could see that this answer right here could have very easily been typed. So they're going to be very lenient, and I know colleges are already announcing that they're going to accept whatever College Board does. So Michaela's asking, what was the app called that you want us to use to take a picture? Here, I'll just type it in the chat box. It's called Cam Scanner, and it basically creates a PDF of your picture. It just makes it easier. It might make it a little bit more difficult for you to upload because it's not just a picture straight from your phone. It's a file from your phone, but it makes it a guarantee that I'm able to read it. All right, are there any other questions? So I looked at that survey that I had you fill out, and I think a couple people had conflicts, and I want you to know that these meetings are not 100%, they're not mandatory. This is just for me to answer your questions. So I would like for you to at least view the meeting because that's why I post them. So I notice we're down from our normal 15 people down to 12 today. So I know as you start to meet with other classes, you're going to have conflicts. And if you need to pick one that you want to go to, I didn't pick this time because I wanted to do 12 o'clock. I had to do it because my kids are also at home and I've got to help them. I have a 7-year-old in first grade and she needs help doing her homework. And from 8 to 10, when I'd normally be teaching my Physics 1 classes, is when I'm in charge of helping her with her work. So that's why I kind of pick these times, is to be able to help my children as well. So all right, so Sarvesh is asking if you have an iPhone and a MacBook, can you airdrop it directly? I don't have an iPhone or MacBook, so I have no idea. Oh, Sarvesh is not asking a question. He's saying if you have an iPhone and a MacBook, you can airdrop it directly. So there you go. All right, any other questions? One of the things that was commented is to wait a minute when I ask, are there any other questions? So my suggestion would be, if you have a question, use the raise your hand button so that your hand goes up so I see that you have a question so I don't cut you off at the end. I do cut you off, you can always send me a remind message and I will answer it that way. But I'm not seeing anybody raising their hand. This is all I had planned, was to go through the FRQ today, since they cut out the last part of our course, which is the only thing we had left was about a week left of learning nuclear physics. That's in the textbook. If you wanted to read it and learn about nuclear physics, it's in the textbook, but I don't plan on teaching anything more, looking more at just reviewing for the AP exam. So if there's no questions, I'm going to go ahead and end, and I will see all of you tomorrow. So have a great day, and even better tomorrow, or not. It's your choice. Happiness is your choice.
Mr. Chairman, can I talk to you?
Yeah, TJ, why don't you send me a remind message?
Okay, thanks.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.